You incorrectly mark the surgical site, resulting in the excision of the wrong lesion. Given that harm has come to the patient, how would you proceed in this situation?
I think the main issues implicated in this case are those of patient safety and duty of candor. This is an incredibly challenging scenario in which a never event has occurred as a result of a mistake that I made. Naturally, my first and main concern would be patient safety. Although harm has already come to the patient, I would want to prevent further harm by ensuring that the correct lesion is removed as soon as possible, as it may potentially be malignant. This is something that I would arrange by discussing with my consultant. The next step would be to seek as much information as possible. I would want to carry out a root cause analysis to determine why this mistake occurred, and what safeguards can be implemented to ensure it never happens again. I would first review the clinic notes, the consent form, as well as the WHO surgical checklist to determine how this issue could have been prevented. I would speak to anyone else who may have been involved at the time and would also reflect on potential instances of miscommunication. All of these steps would also allow me to gather as much information as possible before speaking to the patient. Following this, I would exercise my duty of candor by taking the initiative to speak to the patient and apologize for this mistake, clearly explaining what went wrong. I would communicate transparently with the patient, making sure to highlight the short, medium, and long-term impact of this issue on their care, including the possibility of needing another operation to remove the correct lesion. I would explore the patient's ideas, concerns, and expectations, and would address these to the best of my ability. Finally, I would also provide reassurance by explaining what steps will be taken to ensure this does not happen again. Throughout this process, I would always make sure to escalate early. I would want to involve the team responsible for the patient's care, in particular the consultant who may wish to see the patient themselves. As this is a sensitive matter with potential legal implications, I would also want to seek advice from my clinical and educational supervisors, as well as my defense union, to determine the most appropriate steps to take. More importantly, I would want to support the patient and their family members who may be distressed by this situation. Should the patient want to seek a second opinion or process a complaint, I would also provide details of the patient advice and liaison service. Finally, I would clearly document each interaction to ensure that a contemporaneous record of events is kept, should it be required for an investigation. I would also report this incident by completing a datex to ensure that others are also able to learn from this. Personally, I would reflect on this incident in my surgical portfolio, which would allow me to learn from it as well.
What is a never event and how do you prevent such mistakes from ever happening in surgery?
A never event is any serious incident which is considered to be otherwise preventable, in place of stringent practice recommendations and safety procedures. This includes things like wrong site surgery, retained foreign body post-procedure, wrong implant or prosthetics, as well as other forms of patient harm resulting from deficiencies in patient care. There are various national and local safety standards to prevent never events from occurring within surgery. Following recommendations by the Surgical Never Events Task Force in 2014, NHS England published the National Safety Standards for Invasive Procedures, or NATSIPs, to set out key elements of safe surgical care. The idea was to empower local institutions to develop their own safety standards, so that patient safety is upheld at the local level. In addition to these safety standards, surgical teams also rely upon risk mitigation tools such as the WHO Surgical Safety Checklist and the Enhanced Recovery Pathway to reduce the likelihood of an adverse incident taking place. Finally, clinical governance also has a role to play in the prevention of never events, more specifically relating to staff training and education, risk management, audit, and clinical effectiveness. It is important to note that patient involvement through focus groups and priority setting partnerships also allows the public to contribute to this process.